All protocols having already been observed. Good morning. Our rights, our freedoms, always. That is the chosen theme by the United Nations Human Rights Office for World Human Rights Day 2015. Rights and freedoms. These seem like basic concepts, but very often the discourse that occurs on events such as World Human Rights Day, which incidentally is today, is very academic. There are many groups and individuals that work tirelessly to promote the advancement of human rights in society, but very often, and especially in small jurisdictions such as our various Caribbean territories, these well-intentioned groups become perceived by the public as out of touch, inaccessible, out of reach, and sometimes even elitist. Even among law students, this concept of human rights triggers a notion that a career in the area of human rights can only be achieved by working for an international organization and having a foreign experience by being posted somewhere else other in the world. We at the Hugh Law School have attempted to dispel this myth through the creation of the Human Rights Law Clinic in 2004. We are an extension of the Legal Aid Clinic, and I think that it's important on occasions such as this to remind you of the mission statement of the Council of Legal Education. And that mission statement is to facilitate the development of competent legal practitioners for the region who, appreciating their responsibilities as members of an honorable profession and recognizing the needs of their socio-economic environment, are inspired in the pursuit of excellence, the maintenance of high standards, the promotion of social justice, and the strengthening of the rule of law. In other words, we train advocates. We train them to use their skills as future attorneys at law right here at home. We try to instill in them that using these skills is a very big responsibility and that it must be taken seriously. So, education and advocacy remains our twofold objective. And this public speaking competition for students at the law school falls directly within the objectives of our clinic. Students of the Human Rights Law Clinic have gone into primary and secondary schools throughout this entire term to plant seeds in younger minds about rights and freedoms and to themselves become catalysts of change through advocacy and education. Our students break down complex legal concepts and present them in a format that the average person can understand in articles published within the Law Made Simple column in a daily newspaper. And our students also complete practical, community-based projects with a human rights and educational aim. This year we have 4 such projects. The Innocence Campaign, which examines the reasons for and the effects of child abuse in this country and the measures that we can put in place to stop child abuse from even occurring. Hope for the Homeless, which brings attention to a group in our society that is either forgotten or neglected. And for this project, I think it's notable to note that our students did not remain in the vicinity of the law school or gravitate towards the capital city, but rather they traveled week after week to the city of San Fernando to work with homeless persons there. We're also conducting a social experiment to test how people react to persons with disabilities and the infrastructure that is in place for disabled persons in our country. Our students navigated through several public spaces, getting a first-person perspective on what everyday life is like for someone who is disabled. And we've also created a board game this year, which presents human rights concepts in an innovative, fun, and interactive way for the youth of the Caribbean. So we have oral, written, and community advocacy. But in 2015, we cannot discount the impact of technology. And it is for this reason that the clinic has embraced digital advocacy as well. Not only to highlight the work that our students have completed, but to actually inform the public about their rights and freedoms through Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, and other platforms. Our students no longer produce a written report of their projects for assessment in the clinic. What they now produce is an audiovisual report, essentially video content, which once it meets our requirements for assessment, we publish to the public on our social media channels to inform the public on human rights issues. So having regard to the theme of World Human Rights Day, our rights, our freedoms, I'm very happy and proud to say that the Law School's Human Rights Law Clinic has and continues to play a critical role in the advocacy of those rights and freedoms. As a tutor with responsibility for the Human Rights Law Clinic, and as someone who starts with the responsibility myself of inspiring young and not so young students in the area of human rights, I must reflect on those who have inspired me. Perhaps my first solidification in my mind about the concept of human rights came from taking a course called Discrimination and Employment at the KVL campus of the University of the West Indies. While the content of that course was very interesting in itself, it was the delivery of that material that really struck home, and that course was delivered by Professor Rosemary Bell Antoine. As an undergraduate student in a place as beautiful as Barbados, students find everything else to do but to come to class. But this is a class you did not want to miss, and that was due to Professor Antoine's passion for the area and her eloquent delivery. And she made it a joy for us to attend those classes and really feel that we could make a difference ourselves. It therefore gives me great pleasure to welcome Professor Antoine to the law school this morning. At the Hugh Law School, I also had At the Hugh Law School, I also had the good fortune to participate in the Human Rights Law Clinic under the Honorable Mr. Justice Guru Singh, and I am humbled that he's passed the mantle on to me. And I must also recognize the principal of the Hugh Law School for entrusting me with the responsibility for the Human Rights Law Clinic and for her continuous support of the Legal Aid Clinic, which is an institution that protects human rights daily throughout advocacy in our courts on behalf of persons who have financial difficulties in accessing legal assistance. So, having said that, on behalf of the principal of the Hugh Law School, I thank you for taking the time to be with us today, and I hope that you would enjoy the competition. For the students in the audience, I hope that you would learn something from the 8 presentations today. Thank you.